Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Jared. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. We get unbanned on TikTok in about 17 minutes, so Twitch, we're not long. And I do have my D&D game today at 10, so might stream that. I think the first thing that I would want to show you this morning, interesting time we're in right now. On the one hand, you have people impersonating ICE and federal agents, and on the other, you have federal agents shooting into uh, people's cars. If you remember, one of those. If you remember Florida starting the book bannings, also know it's a judge that made part of what led to those book bannings obviously is illegal. So, one of the concepts that we've become aware of is refeeding syndrome. And so, again, as we say every day, free Palestine, Slava Ukraine, and also the IDF, Israel, is not only committing a genocide, but it's been confirmed they're committing an apartheid. Way illegal. Absolutely something you cannot support, no matter who the country is. And part of the reason I bring up refeeding syndrome is because people are being evacuated from Gaza and dying. So they're still dying from starvation, even if they escape. The U.S. State Department has halted medical-humanitarian visas for people from Gaza. Remember who helps. Remember who doesn't stand up to them. Major General Seward, Governor Morrissey from West Virginia, Major General Jim Seward, the West Virginia National Guard commander. Keep in mind, they're only, and again, I want to continue to point this out, they're only deploying like 300 or 400 people. It's clearly they know what they're doing is wrong. That's why there aren't a whole bunch of people going. Also, all the people that have been deployed so far didn't have active weapons. They don't even have weapons on them, and the most of the time, right? They might have some like handcuffs or something, maybe a flashlight, but Hurricane Aaron still super scary. Even though, everybody out there is saying it's gonna make a turn. Okay, so let's look at let's look at the weather, see what to do. You know what we haven't done in the morning? We haven't shared war. What is it good? So yeah, let's see what's going on with the weather real quick. Oh, huge storm for us here in Indy. Uh, we had pop-up storms last night, um, where you saw like the big storm was far away, but you just see this burst overhead, basically a bubble. The fastest rapidly intensifying storms in Atlantic history. Went from Category 1 with 75-mile-an-hour winds at 11 a.m. Friday. 11 a.m. Friday. 24 hours later, it was a Cat 5 with 165-mile-an-hour winds. One of the terms that I learned from watching, yeah, Debs, it's just Danielle. um, One of the terms that we learned from Ryan Hall, a meteorologist from YouTube, is the term rapid intensification. And so we're gonna get some rain yesterday. Just kidding. Still dry and hot. Yeah. It didn't look like we were gonna get rain, and now it does. Looks like the weather. We'll talk about that at the end. So people always ask, what happens to business when we live in a socialist society? So typically, what you see with someone that owns a business is they'll try to grow their business as big as they can and eventually pass it on to their kids by selling out of the business and taking all that wealth and passing it on to their kids. A lot of people have a problem with this, and I'm one of those people where I didn't get a dowry when I got married, and I didn't have everything handed to me from my family growing up, and I don't expect any sort of handouts like when anyone dies or anything. So yeah, I would be thoroughly happy if businesses, especially businesses that people have owned their whole lives, if people say, you know what, I'm going to put this in an employee trust, divvy up this business to the people that have helped build this business. And this toy store called the Entertainer, which is the biggest toy shop in the UK. They have 1,900 people that work for them, and the staff will get a share of the profits and a say in how the business is run. This is because I'm a socialist, and part of socialism is explaining to people the seizing of the means of production. And there are a lot of people that just they don't understand what that means. What is seizing the? That sounds an awful lot like a violent takeover of what, right? But seizing the means of production could just mean unionizing under the business you work, and then eventually the people that stayed there get a piece of the pie. And there's a reason I've said, what would be a great act of socialism would be all those smart people that work for Tesla unionizing, speaking out against Elon Musk. And then when that stock just keeps dropping and keeps dropping and keeps dropping, and they fire that entire board and Elon, um, those union members should buy up all that stock now that it costs nothing, and now they own the business. Now, will that happen? No. But here's an example of a business in the UK. Instead of creating an IPO and having shareholders and putting it on the stock market, and it's the biggest toy store in the UK, they gave it to its people. The people that show up every day. I think that's a big deal. You're all good. Air Canada has suspended flight operations as its staff have gone on strike. Ooh. Speaking of Canada, Canadian visitors to New Hampshire down 30%. A lot of businesses that really relied on tourists are really going to struggle. I think we talked about this yesterday, but an Israeli government official was arrested in Las Vegas in a child traffic child crimes against children sting. I'm feeling clammy and like I'm gonna throw up today. Don't get old, kids. Jesus fucking Christ. A Pensacola woman has received jail time for stealing from a couple in an adoption deception scheme. Jeez. The Trump administration on Friday reversed course and agreed to leave the Washington, D.C. police chief in control of the department, while Attorney General Pam Bondi, in a new memo, directed the district's police to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement regardless of any city law. The order from Bondi came after officials in the nation's capital sued Friday to block President Trump's takeover of the Washington police. The night before, his administration had escalated its intervention into the city's law enforcement by naming a federal official as the new emergency head of the department, essentially placing the force under full control of the federal government. And this is whether or not there are rules. Here's Microsoft pretending it didn't give Israel the ability to store all of its mass surveillance. So Microsoft has launched an inquiry into claims that Israel used its technology for mass surveillance of Palestinians. You look out, Oklahoma. Here's Google to invest $9 billion in Oklahoma for AI, data centers, and jobs. So the problem with these AI data centers is how um, harsh they are in the environment and how they tend to take resources like fresh water away from people that live nearby. And you can imagine how I don't give a fuck about a company, but I definitely give a fuck about the people. hmm And so for Google to be investing $9 billion in cloud infrastructure and data storage facilities in Oklahoma, I just can hope for continued tornadoes. hmm I hope they can't keep a building up. hmm We'll go live on TikTok. Morning, everybody. Now we are live on YouTube and Twitch. For how long, who knows? Um, so there's this article, but I just want to point out that crime by statistic in Washington D.C. is down, and anything that you read or hear of that suggests on the contrary is propaganda from this administration. So when you read this story, and they don't evidence any statistics, instead they talk to three people, including a guy that works in a liquor store, and say, well, his store got trashed last week and now he doesn't feel safe working here and he thinks that DC's gone to hell. No, sir, you work in a fucking liquor store. The fuck are you talking about? hmm I say it with my full throat. Trump circles really disappointed, by the way. The DC mayor talking about this shit. Being un-American. Mayor of DC has condemned the Trump's administration federal intervention in the city's policing, describing the deployment of troops to the capital as unpatriotic. American soldiers and airmen policing American citizens on American soil is un-American. Mayor Muriel Bowser wrote on a post on Twitter. Violent crime had plummeted 26%. Crime's way down. This is overreach. There's unnecessary. The primary problem I have with Donald Trump trying to negotiate for Ukraine and Russia is that diplomacy is hard when you're only engaging with half of the people involved. Yep. Well, I mean, as we'd been saying the whole time, this is not left versus right. This is rich versus poor, as evidenced by Donald Trump weaponizing the FBI against the homeless. China certainly enjoying Trump 2.0. Oh, so here's an article written by someone that has absolutely Gregory Conti that can't put himself in other people's shoes. So here's an article written by a stupid person who posits why aren't uh, college campuses protesting this regime? And the answer to that is public safety. You must be a fucking idiot if you think that college campuses are good places for protest. Do you not know what Kent State is? Thank you. Here's Trump wanting to do away with affirmative action. I haven't seen a single comment yet, just that comments are being filtered. Pretty typical TikTok. Here's Vladimir Zelensky and listing his friends to meet with Trump on Monday. Excuse me. There's that burp that was probably what I thought was going to be me throwing up. And that meeting's in the White House. So here's Donald Trump is going to be surrounded by people that he has radicalized, people that he has turned into his enemy. And then shout out to all the people that protest outside the White House. And that protest is growing. Donald Trump's approval rating plummets with millennials. Hmm. Hmm. Yep. My generation still knows how to communicate. Here's the DNC chair, Ken Martin. So there's someone whose name needs brought up who needs kicked out of politics right there. Ken Martin, the DNC leadership. Okay. Only 8% of the party's members, of the Democratic Party's members, support the action in Gaza. So when you hear Chuck Schumer say, "My job's to keep the left pro-Israel," he failed. When you see this Democratic National Committee chair, Ken Martin, being the reason that the Democrats are not pursuing the end of arms sales to Israel, it's because of that man. I'm guessing they they make up but a handful of people and that are being fucking fed by AI PAC. And again, that includes Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Hakeem Jeffries, all of them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kamala Harris received the most money from AI PAC. Mm-hmm. Cory Booker too. So when you don't see them speaking out against this regime, understand that they are doing that because they're being paid more by the IDF than they are to represent you, and they need to be voted out. Remember, only 8% of the Democratic Party supports, and we're talking about elected officials. Hmm. Yeah. DNC leadership pressured Gen Z member to kill resolution on banning arms to Israel. So the minority in the Democratic Party is convinced everyone else in the Democratic Party that banning arms to Israel is not a good idea. That's our ally. I don't give a fuck. I don't. Here's the way I feel. I'll give anybody a shot. I don't care. Generally, don't care what you've done in the past. There are limitations to that. But if you fuck up, it absolutely is going to impact our relationship. What are you talking about? You don't get to do whatever the fuck you want, and me be like, yeah, I'm going to be friends with you anyway. Mm-mm. Not in a million fucking years. Okay? So I'll never understand. I'll never understand the support for Israel. Oh, money. That makes the most sense. Understand over 100 elected Democrats take money from AI PAC. Every single elected Republican took money from Israel. Hmm. the good news is it's not as many as you think, right? And so the key is you got to have candidates that aren't Republicans, that aren't trying to run as a Democrat, because the Democratic Party is pro Israel. And there's a reason why we need the American Socialist Party, because we need those same hyper qualified individuals to understand that I cannot, as an American citizen, I can't vote for the Democratic or Republican Party in good conscience. In good conscience. That's part of the reason so many people are lost on politics altogether, is because these parties do not represent us. Again, I am a very social person and have been my whole life. And I don't know anyone that calls themselves a Democrat or Republican. I ain't never met them. Now, don't get it twisted. A lot of people picked sides when it came to Donald Trump. There's a lot of tiny dicked, impotent, angry men who have accomplished nothing that decided Donald Trump is the man. Um, and the Republican Party is going to preserve whiteness. And I just would like to continue to point out every single day something bad happens to a Trump supporter, and I don't see Donald Trump running in to rescue them. And so I just get to be right every single day when Donald Trump is just like all of our daddies. He's just going to let us down in the end anyway. Okay? So eventually he'll fuck over the majority of the people that supported him directly, and they'll get brainwashed. As right now, one of the things that I notice is people that are one paycheck away from being fucking homeless are cheerleading the president clearing out homeless camps. I hope you aren't accepted into any of them when it's your turn. I hope for you, those of you that still support this regime, I hope when you lose it all, there's nothing but the bottom. No support. No, no SNAP, no Medicare, no Medicaid. All the people that are losing it, God, I feel terrible for them and their families. Especially if you did not vote for this. Post what? Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be like having a conversation with somebody whose screen name is no one cares. Why? I don't want to be friends with you. Based on your screen name, not interested. So, here's the Democrats trying to find themselves a spine. And as good a time to protest this regime as any. A lot of people are waking up every single day and realizing like this is only going to get worse. Every day is an escalation upon the prior. You literally have now watched federal agents fire multiple shots into a car. We've jumped the shark. Hmm. Hey Philly, thanks. See, all you gotta do is be nice. And yes, for those just joining, yes, I saw the KKK marching downtown Indianapolis. I want to point out how motherfucking dumb you have to be KKK nowadays. They were walking around in downtown Indianapolis on the hottest day of the year, dressed in all black, with masks on, and only two of them had pew pews, and they were both airsoft rifles. They're the absolute weakest. One of them, two of them that I saw, had bellies that hang over their belt, like cover your belt buckle in fat. And I just want to point out what supremacy. What? Ain't nothing supreme about that except for the tacos your fat ass eats. You know what I'm saying? Um, Fuck out of here. There was like 10 people. Like get the fuck. So know that it's coming to a city near you. Stay in your fucking house. Don't. What's this New York Times article? Nah, I'm not writing that or sharing that article. So an article was written as like the only Jewish person to resign from the Biden administration as a result of their support for the IDF's or Israel's actions in Gaza. And then what they said is that California is pushing a bill, HR 750 or HB 715 or whatever. But then if you read down at the bottom, their beef with this is that is what it would require is that they teach the kids what's really happening as an effort to combat anti Semitism. And the person that wrote the article that got it posted in the opinion side of the New York Times says, well, it teaches the kids to root for Palestine and to root against the Israeli state, which these arguments could lead to anti Semitism. Fuck that. That's not true. Free Palestine. And also, I love all of the Jewish people that I've ever met in my entire life. You see how that works? And the ones that I don't know. See how that works? I hold no ill will for anyone. Now, once you open your fucking mouth and say something out of your gullet, that can fucking change shit lickety split. Like, for example, any support for the Israeli state, I'll never fuck with you again. You'll never fucking see me again. Nope. If you own a business, I ain't shopping there. If you host shit, I ain't gonna be there. Nope. Because you know what this means to me? If you're supporting Israel at this juncture, or at all, or ever, is that you see violence as a solution. It's that simple. And that notion goes for anyone the fuck else that is saying, like, we need violence against this regime. Go do it then, pussy. You gonna sit around and tell everybody else to pick up a fucking gun and you ain't done a goddamn thing. And I want to continue to point out every time it's a white, cis, male or female that sits around and says, where's our violence? We thought we were gonna pick up our guns over our fight for our country. Notice it's never a service member. It's never a service member. It's always some fat old white person with absolutely no intentions of leaving their fucking house. They ain't putting on body armor. They ain't picking up a fucking long rifle. They ain't gonna do a goddamn thing. But they're gonna incite people. And they're gonna try to get people to commit acts of violence. Because it's what satiates them. It's what satisfies them. It's what makes them feel like they've done something and their meaningless fucking existence is cheerlead this barbarism. It's beneath us as a fucking people. hmm I know that there are absolutely fucking consequences for your fucking actions, and it's coming. There's a reason we call it Justice's Waiting Room. My advice is, as it has been, before you ever think about a firearm, you need to think about protecting yourself first. hmm There's too many people. Yeah. Have you seen a single person working for ICE that you're like, oh, they're hireable? No. Nope. You'll see a guy that's like tall and looks pretty yoked, and he has a massive white supremacist tattoo on the back of his arm, and you're like, you're not hiring him. That's for fucking sure, right? So, I watched yesterday. I mean, it was funny to me. They could have just played blooper music. ICE was in the process of beating someone up, and an ICE agent came running full speed and delivered a shoulder into another ICE agent who immediately bashed their head on the pavement. And as they laid there in fucking agony, because they just probably split their fucking dome, uh, the other ICE agent not only struck him again, but then took his arrestee away. And like, so another thing that I want to point out is there are whistleblowers nearly everywhere except within ICE and the CBP. So just know Immigration and Border Patrol completely sold off to Russia and to this regime. So if you live anywhere Border Patrol or ICE are prominent, get the fuck out of there for real. Especially if you're like a woman or person of color. Like they're now working with federal agents, and yesterday they shot into someone's car. So hey, I would leave. Most people don't own, they rent anyway, and it's like, don't rent in an area where you're gonna get subjugated by the fucking police, right? Yep. So every time you see someone calling for acts of violence against this regime, just note: are they white? Are they cis? Know that they're not gonna do anything themselves, and they're provoking you into doing shit as a means of making themselves feel like they've accomplished something in their life. Because every every time a movement goes violent, it fails. So whatever movement that you're trying to start, if it includes acts of violence against your oppressors, it's going to fail. 58% of voters in Missouri voted to approve a sick leave mandate, but lawmakers are caving to lobbying by the state's Chamber of Commerce. Trump tells Zelensky about Putin's orders. Interesting. Apparently, KKK Caroline left that meeting with Putin and looked, I don't know what, ashen, frightened by whatever happened. Got a lawmaker in New Orleans, Latoya Cantrell, being sued for political corruption. I mean, it's. Janssen says they definitely passed battlefield data. I have absolutely no doubt that there was sensitive information exchanged when Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin got into that car together and rode off with no surveillance handy. Wouldn't surprise me if there was a handoff that took place. And think about it now, it could have just been a thumb drive. It didn't have to be hardly anything. Could have been a file transfer from phone to phone, as long as they're next to each other. Uh, could have been, I mean, could have just been a manila envelope. You know what I mean? But on the whole, wouldn't surprise me at all. Mm. Again, I don't believe, and this is just me, but I don't believe there's any really information that Trump could give Putin about, like, Ukraine, for example, because he doesn't attend those meetings, right? He President doesn't take all those classified meetings. Remember, he was attending less than one per week, and he also like falls asleep and shit. And it's not like he's bringing a notepad and taking fucking notes. You know what I mean? So I think he's a useful idiot, and I've been saying it this whole fucking time. Um, he's not as politically useful as he once was. He's lost his fucking mind. Here's Oklahoma doing some dumb shit. Purity tests. His entire demeanor changes around Putin. Yeah. Yeah, look at this old fuck. Henry McMaster sent 200 National Guardsmen from South Carolina. So here's Trump's attempted destruction of corporate oversight. Jansen said he's an old KGB operator. He's no one's friend. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people got to understand, like, the downfall of America is the mission. Like, that's that's his job, and it has been. But it's important to understand that for the better part of 20 years, allegedly, the president, his wives, his children, his best friend, his best friend's wife, ran an international organized crime ring with the sole purpose of being able to blackmail and extort people in positions of power, whether it be a business leader or a world leader. And given that from what is it, 87 on, he's been known as Krasnov, or the president has been a Russian asset since 87. Think about the implication of a wealthy American unable to find success in the US is only able to fund his empire with dirty money, paid more than $1 billion to a single person, his best friend, over the course of his best friend's life for the better part of 20 years. hmm And I think the whole purpose was to get in the same room as world leaders and business leaders that were willing to put themselves in the same room as him, and then use that evidence as blackmail and extortion. And I mean, there's any number of people that you could point to and be like, why are they on board? And they weren't. J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, for example, who spoke out against Donald Trump and did a one fucking 80. hmm Now, do you think it was out of fear? Do you think they got extorted or blackmailed? Hmm? And remember that, and remember what it looks like when it comes back around, because one of the things that I'm fearful of, they all looked shaken. Russia's fucking thrilled after they got Donald Trump to meet him on American soil, and Queensboro president Donovan Richards endorses Zohran Mamdani. Obviously, I wonder if there are better titles than Queensboro president. That's a pretty awesome title. And I think we talked about it today. They're gonna arm the DC guard. May end up carrying weapons. And here's why another reason why I founded the American Socialist Party, and we got to get away from this two party system, because I don't know who fucking Hakeem Jeffries is, but for him to say, time to get real about your ideas if you want my endorsement, is a reason I want him out of politics. Know that they cannot load those weapons and turn them on us. So they won't have bullets in their guns. They'll have those little orange tips on the end, and they won't even have rounds in them. Mm-mm. You'd never do that in a million years. Not against your own people. They don't have enough bullets anyway. And the first time an American soldier aims down on an American and shoots, it's over. hmm That person's career is over. And then I can promise you it unravels from there. hmm Because you aren't getting issued bullets to potentially use on your own people. Not in a million fucking years. And when they send National Guard from out of state, guess what you don't have access to? An armory. You don't have access to a bullet stockpile. You don't have access to that shit out of state, and you ain't bringing it across state lines. Nope. And peep the numbers. 200, 800. Those low numbers tell you they couldn't even get anybody to show up. Driving in the beast alone with no interpreter recording of their conversation. Yeah. So yeah, make sure every day I try to tell my clients to look around. Cost of goods is going up. Oh, I'm guessing all these links I'm sharing on TikTok are not going through. So there's that. And I want you to make sure that you still see with your eyeballs. It's not the military shooting into people's cars. Look at this. It's just now to the part where they're going to put weapons on the DC Guard, and that's before you get ammo. They are not going to issue ammo. It's not going to happen. They're not going to do it when you're out of state. Okay? So I want to make sure we say, given the lack of whistleblowers from ICE and CBP, they're just full of loyalists. hmm They do not have federal jurisdiction over anyone. They're acting as if. And it's super troubling when people are impersonating them. hmm Which doesn't take much to do. All you do is have to act like an uneducated idiot with an anger problem and hatred towards people that don't look like you. Oh, and one of the things that I found out about ICE is they lied to the people that applied to work for them who were anticipating like a $50,000 bonus. Yeah, you only get that if you stick around for years. So you're not getting that money this year. So all those people that we were making fun of, like, oh my God, you signed up for between 23 and 28,000. That's what they're getting paid. Think about hard you'll hold on to something when you're not being paid. So that's the big problem I have with ICE. They don't have warrants. They don't have bullets in their guns. Hell, they're being paid what a fucking bagger at Walmart does. They have no college education. So I'm sitting in Hogwarts. My daughter's birthday party with friends was yesterday. Banners, floating candles, trippy and fun. Yeah. The only problem I have with Harry Potter is that J.K. Rowling is a transphobe. So, but yeah, there's a reason they came out and said, "Hey, college degrees, we'll pay your student loans back. You don't have to have college experience. You don't have to be 18." So understand, some Joey Chucklefuck out here that's been homeschooled, that grew up on a farm, whose parents are racist, is gonna join ICE at like 17 years old. Uh huh. And again, I just want to continue to point out, ICE is hurting itself. ICE is out here throwing cold shoulders into its own and giving them fucking head injuries and shit. So again, this is yet another day where I'm not sitting here saying ICE, Border Patrol, feds, local police are started shooting into crowds with live rounds. It's not happening. Okay? And the same thing goes for military. I'm not saying those things. What we are absolutely seeing as of yesterday is people that are saying they're federal agents firing into cars with live rounds. It's all fun and games until there's a casualty. Yep. I heard I heard I heard a story about a group of ICE agents having a conversation. And again, this is a very loose story. Okay, the gist of it was they were all upset. They're all, my wife left me, my girlfriend left me, my family won't talk to me, all of them. And they're all pontificating, is it worth it? I gave up all this shit. Is it worth it? And as someone that was on active duty in the Marine Corps Infantry during a time of war, if you ever catch yourself sitting around asking, is it worth it? The answer is unequivocally fucking no. Quit now, go home, go apply for a job elsewhere. Um, Keep your ass off the street pretending that you're Billy Badass. Yeah. Multiple stories about people impersonating ICE and they're targeting women. And kidnapping women. I mean, when they don't have to show a badge, show their face, they're not wearing a uniform, they don't have a warrant, you know. Well, Dubs, the ICE that you see in groups working together, that's probably ICE, right? When it's one, two, maybe three people, yeah, there's a chance that ain't ICE. It's just people cosplaying. You can go buy cargo pants, marine green T-shirt, and a kit for a couple $100. So you could impersonate the fuck out of them. Oh, also I want to point out, if it looks puffy, it don't have a vest actual uh, sappy plate in it. So not only do they not have bullets in their guns, they don't even have sappy plates in. which are the things that you put on the front of your back that go in your bulletproof vest that adds additional layer of protection. They're not even wearing that. It's because they're fucking cosplatriots. hmm They're fucking wannabes. And remember, it's not about results, it's all about shock and awe, right? So, them shooting into the back of someone's vehicle, yeah, they weren't trying to hit anyone. It's a show of force. It's what pussies and bullies and punks do. Oh, for sure. Bear mace. Not, not nice, not nice. Stop a perpetrator mace. Bear mace. It for many women, it's gonna be as long as your forearm, and when you shoot that shit, it shoots like 200 fucking feet, and you're gonna hit somebody in the fucking eyeballs, and they're gonna have a fucking problem. hmm Oh, soft targets. Uh huh. And flammable. That's what's the problem is with wearing all that stuff, and you ain't got no sappy plate in. It ain't even doing you no good. Got all those carabiners on it, and it's like you ain't even got anything hanging on that, right? And you know how you see someone with a AR, right, walking around with an AR on? Where are your magazines that have all the bullets in them? Oh, you don't own that. That's cosplay. What do you got in that? What do you got in that magazine? Airsoft bullets? The fuck out of here. So make sure you just be careful. If you don't, my wife and I, we pick up our groceries, right? We don't even go to the grocery store. And there are a whole bunch of places to just no longer shop. We're no longer doing business with places like Walmart, places like Home Depot, Target. Glad to see everybody. Glad to be back on TikTok. Cops in jeans aren't cops. Mm. Yeah, because what cop worth his weight in salt is gonna go out and have to get on the ground and shit, and you're in inflexible jeans? And also, no one who's who's ever had to handle somebody else wore cargo pants either and stuffed a bunch of shit in their cargo sides neither. No veteran is doing that shit. Nope. You need pants you can move in. That's why I wear uh, sweatpants with a drawstring, hmm and pockets so I can move. You never know when you gotta do the splits or whatever. But yeah, make sure. No, notice the lack of police presence when there were 10 people with the KKK protesting downtown Indianapolis yesterday. The reason that there were no police officers out is because those were the police officers. Remember, if you have 10 people sitting at a table and 9 of them are Nazis and one of them is just okay with them, you have a table full of Nazis. Yep, don't ever forget I said that. hmm But a lot of people are like, whatever do we do? Protest, boycott, and strike. My advice, here's the May Day movement in Washington, D.C. There are daily live protests in the nation's capital. Okay? Now, a lot of people don't live in Washington, D.C. and can't get to Washington, D.C. like me. Right? I'm not trying to do all that traveling. I'm not trying to go where there's a bunch of people that want to beat me up, right? Because they have some inferiority complex. Okay? September 1st, workers over billionaires. Okay? Putting all the links in the chat. Indivisible, 5050.1, Mayday Movement, Mayday Strong. Um, Join a fucking union. I think often about, when you work at a company and you're good at your job, what's the point of the company, right? They just pay you. They don't I don't talk to them all the time. I don't have I don't feel like I have good communication with anyone that I work. I have communication with. And that's like every job I've ever had. It's like, what's the fucking point of this shit? The job's only worth it if there's a union involved. Because if there's not a union involved, there's no one on your side when it's you versus the company. When the company has done something against you, you have no recourse. For example, okay, I work in finance, okay, and part of how I get paid depends on what happens after we do business. And as someone who has studied data analytics at Purdue University, how much I make is too dependent on what happens after we do business. Meaning, I get penalized. If you change a payment, I shouldn't get penalized for that. I get penalized if when you go to pay the first payment, you don't have enough money in your account. I get penalized for that. There's nothing in my job title, there's nothing about my job that demands that I confirm that you're not gonna like change your fucking bank account, are you? You're not gonna not have enough money to pay this bill, are you? Like, we don't fucking do that shit, right? So if I want to challenge the company I work for and say, hey, dipshits, this is having an impact on my ability to make money here. And it's not fair, right? It's not fair. The company could just be like, you're fired. We're going to do this how we want to fucking do it. The way I could fight that is to fucking unionize and make it so if you fuck with me and you fire me, you lose everybody, right? And the idea in developing a union is so that when I can point to a statistic that my company uses to determine whether or not I'm going to get fucking paid, I can say my union rep says that's not okay. And we need to come to the table and negotiate here from a union perspective because there's a whole bunch of us and there's just one company, right? And we can do this equitably for all of us, or we're going to have a problem. Like us not working. Like me limiting my risk as much as fucking possible. I'm not going all in. Not until I know I got the nuts, right? Exactly. Evie, I'm not a bill collector. It's not my job. Dogs in the background howling. Like, Dad, come play with us. By the way, that's what I do when I'm not working. Play with the dogs. But they're absolutely protesting. What? Look at this shit. Thanks, Val. I don't know what that was for, but I appreciate you. So here's Mike Lindell losing his shit. Here's a conversation about the potential. Hey, Dirty Bad. Here's a article about the potential prizes for this gerrymandering arm race. Um, I want to point out, uh, yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger did come out and oppose gerrymandering on the whole, but only after California retaliated when Texas decided it wanted a gerrymander. And I also want to continue to point out that the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, did it the lawful way. hmm By saying we're going to use democracy and we're going to vote on this to decide if this is what we're going to do, as opposed to just deciding that because you're an elected official, this is just what we're going to do. Um, so here's Webb County, Texas 2024 election results spike questions. So in this Webb County in Texas, Donald Trump won, right? But Democrats won all the down ballot races. And again, this ain't the only county, ain't the only city, ain't the only state in the country, but it is in Texas. It is in Texas. But I want to continue to point out that that ain't even original. Okay? So understand Donald Trump meeting with Vladimir Putin. Fucking so right now, and I totally get the sentiment, Phoenix, but here's the reality of the situation. They're currently up like 42-10 or some shit, 40-10 or something like that in California. If they add five or some, it's like X to five. If Californians add 5 seats, the Republicans have none. So I get that you're like, you should do more, but they're doing the most. Like, if they do what they say they're going to do in California, it's 52-0. So right now it's like 47-5 or whatever. It's not, but it's close. It's like, I think it's, like I said, I think it's 42-10, right? They're, the reality of this situation is, none of this should have happened, but the fact that Texas in a mid-decade decision, meaning this ain't the time to do it, when they're not in power, decided, hey, we want to redistrict. So it ain't on you. It's not that time. Also, Democrats broke quorum and fled the state, and it didn't pass. Right? Yeah. So here's the thing that I've come to understand: Republicans are ineffectual, meaning they talk a lot of shit, but they don't actually do it. Republicans, they don't do it and they don't talk shit. So they're just like, well, you give us no choice. If that's what you're going to do, that's what we're going to have to do. Neither of them have any intentions of just doing that. hmm Abbott is calling another special session that starts Monday. And Democrats have not returned to the state of Texas. They will not break quorum. They will not allow that vote. That gerrymandering is not going to happen. So that's again, the thing about it is there's a lot of people that are pissed at Arnold Schwarzenegger, right, who didn't say anything until after Gavin Newsom came out and said, "You want to play that fucking game?" Right? And so I just want to point out that that feels partisan. Okay, it feels partisan, but he may end up being the one that's right. He may be one that says, "Look, we should just stop this gerrymandering bullshit." And I agree, we shouldn't be gerrymandering, right? But it has happened so many times for so many years in our past that it's like, hey, that pendulum's got to swing the other way eventually, right? And that's what I think needs to set. So, three states to be disappointed in today: West Virginia, Ohio, and South Carolina. Sending, again, small groups, 100 to 200. Yeah. hmm Now, I don't think either party has the ability to make it happen. Nonetheless, Donald Trump meeting with Vladimir Putin is a distraction from the Epstein list. This gerrymandering shit is a distraction from the Epstein list. It's just important to understand um, feds firing into someone's car and all, like, that's a distraction. Them mobilizing the National Guard to it's a distraction. It's a tourist spot and it's empty. Nobody wants to go there right now. They're using the feds to kick homeless people out of places that they've been allowed to camp. Uh huh. The bills are unpopular. Yeah, yeah. Here's Gavin Newsom trying to turn this energy into a positive movement for young men and boys in California. Um, yeah, I mean that's what we've sat up here and said is that this regime and our oppressors, the billionaires that bought this regime, they want to weaponize speech. They want to imprison their political opponents. They have openly stated The elderly, the poor can just pick fruit, which means that they are just fine employing the elderly and the poor and their political opponents as slave labor. hmm They have no problem doing it. I remember specifically when Kristi Noem was asked about what about all these people that are losing their health care, their food stamps, Medicare, Medicaid, yada yada. And Kristi Noem said they could just pick fruit. Now, what I would tell you as your chieftain, your warlord, um, never forget the energy and don't forget to return it to them. They would absolutely imprison you. They would let you starve, drown, suffer from disease and ailment and injury. Um, I want to continue to point out stuff like they emergency evac Alligator Auschwitz last week because of a COVID outbreak that they are unprepared to handle. Um, so H.R. 4983 to repeal a prohibition against the use of funds for site acquisition, development, or construction of any facility in Israel, Jerusalem, or the West Bank. So 8:15, 2 days ago, Michael Lawler from New York introduced the bill. Interesting. So, as I said, the President of the United States has enriched himself and fully intends on building a resort in Gaza, on the Gaza Strip. That's what Jared Kushner went to the Middle East for, was to negotiate safe passage. I've been saying this whole time, the president is going to run away. He's going to exile himself to Gaza. And the whole thought process is that Bibi is going to take over the Gaza Strip, build a Israeli military base, and he thinks that the U.S. is going to partner with Israel there, which will basically give Donald Trump a cash cow. Because all the military personnel that are stationed there, what do you think they're going to do for fun and vacation when there's a fucking resort next door? They're going to go golfing and stay in his hotels. And I've been saying that, and then hey, we seen the construction contract coming out of fucking Leonardo DiCaprio's development company, so they've got a contract in on the Gaza Strip. You mean to tell me the president of the United States, who's enriched himself using public office, sent his fucking child to the Middle East, not child, but family, Jared Kushner, to the Middle East to negotiate for this? Years ago. We know this, right? Not every Democrat. Remember this. The reason that I think we need a new political party, a new American Socialist Party, is not every Democrat is fighting Donald Trump's DC takeover. See the problem here? Too many people are being too careful. They're scared. The Republicans have no problem acting in concert. The Democratic Party is in shambles. It's got factions. Here's the thing, Debs, that I think we gotta say. I'm not worried about President Trump. I think that man's so fucking stupid. He rode off in a fucking car with Putin who don't speak English. So there wasn't an interpreter. Donald Trump don't speak Russian. So what the fuck happened? I can promise you there was eyes and ears. There almost always is. The media make it seem like they were just able to get in a car and drive off together. Hmm. Oh yeah. About that time, kids. Dogs are starting to bark, right? Let's eat the rich and get out of here. And like I said, today I think is the first day that I'll get to play Pathfinder or D&D with my friends. And I thought I might stream myself. I'm playing as like a wizard, and if you know your boy, I'm already like smarty pants, and now I'm playing as the fucking smart guy. Phoenix said the Democratic Party is not a monolith. Some are no better than others. Phoenix, true. And one of the things about the Democratic Party that you gotta know is that 100 of them take money from AI PAC. 54 of them are part of, there's one faction, the AI PAC Democrats. Then there's the Blue Dog Caucus Democrats, a group of 54 elected Democrats that vote conservatively. So if you ever wondered why we got kneecapped the fuck out of and how these people that Donald Trump chose as his cabinet picks, how did that get approved? Oh, you could thank a Blue Dog Caucus member. You could thank Klobuchar. You know what I mean? You could thank the very people that you could identify. When racism persists in America, as much as it is the right, it is the conservative party propagating racism in the United States. Uh-huh. When Kirsten Hillenbrand, a Democrat, comes out and makes racist fucking statements about Zoran Mamdani, and the entirety of the Democratic Party doesn't immediately come out, shut that shit down, and say that shit's inappropriate, it is not allowed in our party, and there will be consequences for this. They didn't say that. In fact, they were fucking silent. And that's because they're unsure if they can actually support Zoran Mamdani. And I just want to continue to point out, he is only getting more popular, and for good fucking reason. He was asked in the last couple days about shedding the role of being a socialist. And his answer was, I'm not worried about that. I'm not either. You see, I'm a socialist. And you know what this means? It means I'm pro equality. It means that when I first meet someone, I don't instantly judge them and dislike them based on what they look like. I wait until you open your mouth and insert your fucking foot before I'm going to judge you fully, right? And then um, I also think that I can point to the height of the level of corruption in the United States. I'm not religious, and all religion is just made up bullshit. And the fact that we need like a specific religion and power just confirms for me that religion's useless. Because look at what it did to you. It made you think that your Sky Daddy's the fucking real one, and the fact that their Sky Daddy, oh by the way, the same fucking Sky Daddy that you worship, they worship, but y'all can't decide which one's true. I can tell you, as someone who's been in college for the last 30 fucking years, it's made up bullshit to control you. Here you are being fully fucking controlled by your faith.
You see how that works? And then the reality of this situation is what I was explaining is that you could point to the height of corruption of corporations now and trace that back 7 decades, more than 70 years, to the decline in union membership. So you can spin it however you want, but the facts are that for the last 7 decades, union membership has declined. So I'm a syndicalist socialist, and that means that you need to join a union to save the union. You may not think that joining a union will help save the country, but who do you think are going to be our political leaders in the future? Who will have been able to weather the storm? Union members. People that even when shit got rough, they were part of a union and they were able to keep a job and hours and stay paid and busy, right? And they were able to rise up within their union and become a leader within their union and a speaker within their union until eventually they're getting recommended to run for public office. That's syndicalism. I just explained syndicalism to you. I explained what it is. Syndicalism is the choosing to elect union leaders, the people whose job it is to get their compatriots paid and insured and fed and housed, right? That's what a fucking union leader, that's what a fucking political leader looks like, right? And I want to remember when Kilmar Abrego Garcia was fucking kidnapped and trafficked to El Salvador, who spoke out? That's right. The president of the fucking steel union spoke out and said, if we got to, we'll use our own assets to go get him. Was that was that the U.S. military? Was it lawyers? Was it politicians? No, it was fucking union leaders. So just remember that, and remember what it did to drive other people to support Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Was them see this big leader, right? This big steel union, fucking the president of the steel union, get up there and say, "Bring our brother home." So have a good rest of your day. I gotta get out of here. Okay. Yeah, sounds surprised Zimpy don't want mail-in voting. Oh yeah. Take it easy, y'all. Make sure you drink water, eat right, exercise, get some good rest. I know I'm gonna need it. I can already feel it. So